very much. Now let's hear it for Jody.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Let's see if I can get this to... Well, it's the busy.
Oh.
So I apologize.
There you go.
So, welcome. If you haven't seen me before, my discussion is about note acquisition. So, anybody invested in notes before? Ever bought defaulted notes, good notes, bad notes, good paper, bad paper, anything? There you go. Good. This is my commercial sort of in between. We're going to show it anyway just because I paid a lot for it. So, if you haven't seen me before, I speak on this on a regular basis. I'm considered an expert in the industry. I'm not trying to impress you, but it's impressive to me because if you would have known me my whole life, you would know that this is exciting for me. And whatever your path is, you should try to find it, pick it, and figure out what it is. Because ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to make money. Anybody here want to make money? Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's why you're here on a holiday, because you want to make money. And that's impressive to me. And how many believe you can make as much money beyond your dreams?
Yes.
Okay? You should. You really should. Because I came from a family that didn't dream. And that's sad. I could start, we could all have cocktails and start crying over all this kind of stuff. But I did. My family is not rich. They're the nicest people in the world. They are salt of the earth. And God bless me that I came from a family background. I mean, sometimes I feel guilty because I didn't have an abused childhood, like Roseanne Barr. And so I do feel guilty about that. My childhood was normal, but unfortunately it was normal. Okay, because normal has never been what I wanted. Is anybody happy with normal? I heard a line one time that said, complacency is a life of boredom. And a lot of people just want to be complacent. So we're going to talk about note acquisition. And we're going to talk a little bit about, let's see if I can get this. This is another commercial we did. Does everybody know what a note is?
The renowned 20th century oil tycoon J. Paul Getty has a famous quote, "Buy when everyone else is selling, and hold until everyone else is buying." It's the very essence of successful investing. Imagine taking advantage of an investment opportunity that has always been around, and yet very few investors have the knowledge to get in the game. And this is your chance to take advantage before the rest of the herd catches on. We at Asset Ventures are the experts in the buying and selling of notes. And we're going to share our knowledge with you so that you can take advantage of this untapped investment opportunity. Notes are mortgages, liens, or debt to pay against a property, or as we like to call it, paper. And over the years, we have discovered that having paper can be far more valuable than owning property. We can teach you the best places to find paper, how to determine the strength of each investment opportunity, your potential exit strategies so that you can turn a profit, and much more. Banks are more motivated than ever to unload this paper. Think of it like a garage sale for notes. This means that you, the investor, have access to some great investment opportunities if you just learn the proper way to buy and sell notes. If you're interested in learning how you can invest in notes, give us a call at 855-798-1411. Again, that's 855-798-1411, or visit our website at assetventuresllc.com. Asset Ventures and you, helping the economy recover, one deal at a time.
What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about that. Hopefully that explains a little bit about a note is. But first of all, you want to probably know who I am. Because you're thinking, well, why is this guy here? What's he talking about? How do I know he's an expert? Or saying anybody can be an expert on anything. I'm not going to talk about sex. I'm not going to talk about religion. And I'm not going to talk about politics. I'm only going to talk about what I know, and that are notes. Okay? But if you know this right, it'll buy you a lot of sex. And religion. I'm just kidding. So who am I? Well, I built my first home when I was 13. It wasn't my idea. My dad said, if you want to eat and sleep, you've got to build a house with me. And so it was more slave labor than trade labor. But I bought my first house when I was 17, again with my father. He said, we're gonna buy a house, give me $750. We put 10% down on a house for $15,000. I complained and I cussed him out every single moment that I was doing this because we had to rehab the house because I didn't know about Dana's painting. We had to paint our own, right? I had to do my own cement driveways, I had to do everything myself, and it turned out that, you know, in the summertime, I was cussing my dad out under my breath because my friends were at the beach having fun, meeting girls, and here I was working my 2D off in 100-degree weather until we sold the house 2.5 years later and made $15,000 profit. We doubled our money on it. So I was a builder in 1989 when the market crashed because I thought after building and rehabbing, I thought this is pretty cool. And in 1987, I became a builder, and 2.5 years later, the market crashed. If you were around in there and anybody got devastated back in that time, it might have been 1990, might have been 91. For builders, they always get hit first, so I was just devastated in 1989. Then the real estate agent community, and then the general public. It's happened the last 2 times exactly that way. Okay, licensed agents in 1994. So after being a builder and losing everything, I decided to become a real estate agent. Pretty smart, huh? Jump from the frying pan into the fire, is that what they say? So I didn't know any better. Thank God I was ignorant. I was just ignorant. Okay, so I didn't know any better, and I got right into being a real estate agent in 1994. Now, in hindsight, that turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made. It wasn't a good decision at the time, but I didn't know any better, right? So I sold 11 homes my first year, which by real estate standards is actually pretty good. That's 1 a month. I actually had 2 jobs. I was working for a regular company from 7 to 2, and then I was working real estate from 3 to 9. And I would work on weekends, and I would take off 1 day during the week from real estate, and then I'd have the weekend off from my other job. I only had to do that for 3 months, fortunately, because I put 3 homes in escrow, and then I quit my full-time job and just became a full-time real estate agent. I did a lot of distressed properties back then, right? REOs, short sales. So lo and behold, the market got better in 1996, 97, and the market just took off. Since then, I've done 1,100 transactions as a normal real estate agent. That's pretty successful by standards. That's a lot of business by standards. So I'm proud of that. And the worst thing, though, was that I did 1,100 transactions. Right? Because what happens when you do a real estate transaction? You're in, you're out, you don't make any more money. You're done. Right? You're not part of the transaction. You're just the conduit. Somebody gets happy, somebody makes money, somebody gets a house, you make a little money, you're done. The deal's done. You never get any residual. Like I Love Lucy gets checks every time they show I Love Lucy. I believe I Love Lucy's still showing all the time, all over the world, and they're still making money, right? That's pretty cool. Wouldn't it be great to kind of create that kind of income for your work and your efforts? So I learned the hard way that was it. And the worst thing that happened to me was I was just successful enough to not be successful. Does that make sense? You know, you're doing well enough and you think, okay, I'm fine, I'm happy, I'm complacent, right? And I'm not going to need to get any better. And then the market crashed again. Who moved my cheese? If you don't read that book, that's one of my favorites. Who moved my cheese? Well, the whole real estate community says, who moved my cheese? Right? So I didn't screw the economy. I wasn't a mean lender. I didn't give these derivatives to the stock market. I didn't do all this to lending. I didn't insure AIG. It was not my fault. Why am I taking the brunt of other people's greed and mistakes and everything else? I didn't get rich off of that, but yet I was the end result of it, as most of us were, right? Whether you were a homeowner or you were in the industry or whatever. So my problem was I was just successful enough not to be really successful, and I got complacent, okay? And so, but I was more prepared in 2007 than I was in 1989, okay? But over the process, I negotiated over 300 short sales in the last, since 2007. I got into notes. I went from short sales to resolution to acquisition. You're going to see that journey that I took. So we're going to talk about notes and acquiring them and how you're going to create cash flow and a business model for yourself. But I'm also, hopefully, going to try to motivate you to get off your duffs and do whatever it is you love to do and make money at it, because the money is out there, people. It's there. We're like in one of those funnels where the wind is blowing and the money's just going in, and you just got to have enough of a hand to grab it. And I'm going to explain why and how I've come to find this out. And it didn't happen to me because I was Donald Trump's son. It didn't happen to me because I had a silver spoon coming out of one of my orifices. It didn't happen to me because I'm a genius. It happened to me because I was just like anybody else. So I hope that I convey to you today that I'm just a normal, average person. And if I can do it, you can do it. And there's going to be some incredible things that I hope that you get excited for me, because that's what I'm going to talk about. But I want to share this excitement for you because it's an opportunity for everybody, not just notes, but the concept of how to drive forward, okay? Dan's been doing this for a long time. I see people like Dan and all of us around the country because I travel a lot. It's fascinating what they do, but you've got to set some goals for yourself. So we've managed just in the last 7 years, actually 5 really, over 750 notes. It's probably more than that. But that's what we've managed in defaulted paper. And we own and operate over 40 REOs ourselves because of this. I don't even need credit. Because we own the note, we've actually taken back properties, maneuvered through it, and through note pools, we've actually acquired REOs. So now we actually have a little over 40, and it's pretty exciting. I don't even want to own REOs.
Name of REO, is that?
It's real estate owned.
Okay.
Okay, foreclosed property. And this is my wife and my dog. And so my wife is, a lot of people are afraid of my dog, I'm afraid of my wife. That's why we're here, because I have to make sure that I can feed them both and take care of them. Okay? What's that? So anyway, I just got married a few weeks ago, so I think this is my lovely wife here. And that's our lovely dog, and he's very, very nice. And so hopefully we'll have a family and everything will be great, but thank you very much, I appreciate it. So I want to show you that's part of my why, okay? Everybody know what a note is?
No.
Okay, it's a mortgage, it's a mortgage note, as most of them are only what we buy. We don't buy unsecured debt, like credit card debt, or a note on a car. We buy notes on mortgages, and they're defaulted. That means they stop paying. They went belly up, okay? So that's what a note is. It's basically a document that shows that it's an IOU. It could be on a cocktail napkin, right? You could have lost your house in a poker game to George next door, and if you got it on a cocktail napkin, it's actually a legitimate contract. That's why title's in there. If you don't know that, that's another course, but that's why title is there, so you can't come knock on your door and says, hey, what are you doing in my house? George lost this house to me in a poker game, and get out. Well, no, that's a title company issue. You sue title, because they clear title. That's what the insurance is for, okay? So that can't happen. Interest rate. This is some of the things it shows. Interest rate, the time to repay the debt, no more. It's red. Is it red for a reason? Oh, usually accompanied by a mortgage or a deed of trust, lien. You know what a deed of trust is, right? Everybody, or a lien. It's okay, I think, now. I'm not sure. Is it supposed to be red? So the note pledges the property as collateral in the case of non-payment. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, just grab it too tight. Pledges the property as collateral in the case of non-payment. Remember that. That's the key to a note. The collateral is the property. That's what makes notes work. That's the exciting part of it. Okay? It's also known as a promissory note. Okay, so let's move on. We buy institutional paper. All right? Now, I know some of you are rehabbers. Buy and hold. Anybody buy and hold? Rehabber. Who markets to people? Who knocks on doors? Does mailers? Those type of things, right? It's expensive, it's costly, and probably get a small percentage of return, right? If you get a 3% return on a mailer, that's successful, correct? Okay, see, I know my numbers, because I've done it. I'm not talking to you about anything I haven't done. That's why we don't talk about sex. Okay, I'm kidding. So if you're paying attention. Institutional, we buy institutional paper. We do not do mailers. Think about it. If I have to send 1,000 mailers to get what? That would be 9 leads, right? No, 90. 90 leads. If I send 100 letters, I get 3. So, no, what would that be? 30. 30 leads to send 1,000 letters. Now that can get costly, right? With mailers and da-da-da-da-da, everything else. And it may be outside your area, correct? And by the time you get it, it may not fit your criteria, correct? Have you ever guys, have you ever seen a handwritten note by, you know who writes them? Attorneys, escrow officers, title companies, agents, Uncle Joe. Everybody writes a note. And so if I go buy notes on a case-by-case basis, they're all different. If I call a bank who has defaulted notes, I can buy 1,000 notes with one call. Which would you rather do? Which makes dollar sense, right? And do I have to leave my office? Do I have to deal with an unsophisticated, sort of untrained, unknowledgeable type of individual? No, I'm dealing with a bank, a hedge fund. I'm dealing with an attorney. Somebody whose job is to get it done. Not to decide, well, you know, my wife and I want to go on vacation, and that's why we're selling this note, and I'm not going to take less than this, and da-da-da-da-da-da. Same with a wholesale house or something else, right? So, why did it do that? That's weird. Did that just pop up?
Okay.
That's weird. Okay, sorry guys.
Hold up.
Technical difficulty.
Be careful of the buttons.
I didn't touch anything. Okay. I'm sure I did. So we buy institutional paper, which means we can buy in bulk. So one phone call, I can do what it takes, and that's just exciting to me because I don't have to send out mailers and do everything else. Okay. Now, so banks sell non-performing notes at pennies on the dollar. The collateral is worthless to the banks, and it's a garage sale. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of details of this. Hopefully you've got some of this down. You can ask me questions later and all that, because this is some of the exciting stuff, but it's kind of like the technical stuff that really doesn't matter. Get the concept first. Okay, so I can buy first and second non-performing. I don't buy performing stuff. The reason we don't buy performing stuff, in a bad market, it doesn't make sense to buy performing stuff. You're not paying a good price, you know. You guys probably heard when the market crashed, all kinds of people were doing things. I bought a $70,000 Mercedes for $5,000, you know, or I bought this art for this kind of money. When the market turned, people were giving me stuff. I got a pool table, I got washers and dryers left and right, all kinds of stuff when I was listing their houses in short sales, because nobody could even afford to move the stuff, right? And so, you know, one man's trash is another man's treasure. But I didn't have a warehouse to house it all. Next time we crash this, hopefully I will, and we can have antiques. But anyway, first and seconds we buy, there's an abundance of collateral. We're going to go in a little more detail in that, but there is an abundance. And you may have heard of bad paper. We turn bad paper into good, okay? There's no such thing as bad paper in my mind, so that's what's exciting about it. The general public thinks there is, and that's great. And a lot of investors think that, and that's even better, okay? So here's the benefit to the note. There's no qualifying. You don't need credit. Most of them are so inexpensive that you need less startup funds, okay? No landlord, you're the landlord. Who's a landlord now? Do you love it? Don't you just love being a landlord? Love it, huh? Don't your tenants pay on time? Never cause any problems? Never want to sue you? Never ask for anything? Tenants are great. What's that? Code enforcement? Yeah, then you got to do all these things? Oh yeah, it's fun, huh? Be a landlord. It sounded like fun at the beginning, right? But it's not anymore. But has your lender, any of you own a property? You own your own house? Have you ever called your bank and said, my toilet's broken?
Yeah.
Nope. They'd laugh at you, they'd hang up, right? They wouldn't even admit that you lived in a house they loaned on. You never call the bank when you have a problem. So be the lender. Think about it. Start thinking like a bank, and hopefully I'm going to expose that to you a little bit today in a positive way. There's no area limitations. This is the biggest one to overcome. The biggest one to overcome. What is this? The biggest one to overcome. Think like a bank. If you want to be wealthy, you have to think big, not just think. Think big. I look at it like this. This is a pretty artsy community, right? The Santa Barbara. You probably guys know some movie stars and some producers and directors or whatever. Think about it. Let's take Jack Nicholson. Okay, Jack gets paid $20 million a movie, right? So let's equate it to this. For every dollar he makes, he knows one person. Okay? Does Jack know 20 million people? Absolutely not. But do 20 million people know of Jack Nicholson? Absolutely. So it's not who you know, it's who knows of you. Okay? So think about it. That's how they think. Jack can break the borders. They don't just show his movies in Santa Barbara or Hollywood. They show them all over the world. I heard recently that the movie The Avenger, Captain America, made $200 million worldwide before it made $100 million in the United States. Wow. That's incredible to me. $300 million on its first weekend. $200 million across the world before the United States. And you wonder why our jobs are being outsourced, right? Because there's an economy, a worldwide economy. So no area limitations. Think about it. One of my first notes I bought was in Baltimore, Maryland. and it's paying me $330 a month on a $13,000 investment. We'll get more into that. Okay? So think big. Think big. Leverage your risk. Okay? And there's less competition because nobody knows about notes. More and more people know about them. You may have heard about it. There's a rumbling about it. It sounds like this mysterious thing and everything else. So hopefully I'll take some of the mystery out of it. All right. So here's the State of the Union as I know it. Some of the things that I read and I learn and stuff like that. You don't know me that well, but let me tell you, I've been doing this since 2007. This is the note side of it. And we also have a real estate division. But I travel all over the country, and I take this very seriously. I spent over 10,000 hours learning this industry. So in a short period of time, I became an expert. Now, this was staying up at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, learning and reading and studying this before I ever brought it to the public. Because I didn't want to bring something after the market just crashed in real estate and bring something else, and people say, well, this sucks. You know, how am I going to believe you? Da, 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 da. So the worst thing for me was being a real estate agent for all those years. Because I had to shut that valve off and think like an investor again. So, you know, clean your slate sometimes and start over. And that's what was beautiful about 2007, is the market just cleaned itself, right? There was an explosion and we all get to start over. So there was a shortage of investment properties right now. Anybody buy those types, buy and fix and flips and things like that, they're hard to find. There's a lot of competition, multiple offers. They're more difficult. Every now and then you fall into one or something like that. But you're fighting over 1 or 2 properties or several or a limited amount of properties. With notes, we have no limit, and I'm going to show you. There's no shortage of investors, right? There's a lot of competition. Money is flowing again. It is just flowing. Anybody heard any bad news about the economy recently? Anybody listen to the news? Anybody read the paper? If you do, you shouldn't be. Okay? You should be reading the paper and you should be watching the news. I don't know why. No, I do know why, but there's only 9 million homes undervalued right now. Over 3 million homes came from underwater last year. Did you know that? That's pretty good. That means there's only 9 million underwater. So the people that are looking for that shadow inventory or the undervalued homes, the short sales and all that, it's starting to go away. It's going away pretty fast. Consumer confidence is up. All the things I've learned about economists and everything else is that's all that matters. It's not unemployment statistics. It's not any other statistic. They can throw all that in there, but none of that matters. It doesn't matter unless it's affecting you. I think I told you this story before if I didn't mention it, but you know the difference between a recession and a depression? A recession is when your neighbor loses their job. A depression is when you lose your job, right? See, it's all different. It just matters where you're at in the scope of things at the time. But consumer confidence is up. Maybe you can't buy a house, but other people are investing like crazy right now, like crazy. But do you know the stat? And you should know this stat because if you're an investor, you should know these things. Do you know how many out of 5 adults, how many can buy a house? Do you know the number? It's 22% in any market. 22% of an adults can buy a house. That means 78% can't buy a house. So if you're in the business of trying to be an agent or something, I never understand it because I used to teach agents. I don't teach them so much anymore. But 4 out of 5 people you talk to can't buy a house. You're just talking to the walls. So know your audience. Know what they can do. People don't look at statistics, I think, enough. So when you talk to investors, homeowners, what are they looking for? What's the real thing? But consumer confidence is up, and that's a good thing. And I'll show you even more as we look into it. But this is really the key. $8 billion of defaulted notes are going to be released this year. $8 billion. That sound pretty cool? Do you think you can take a piece of that? Isn't that kind of nice? $8 billion. I mean, I can. And this is in a recovering market. And the problem, or the reason why, is because this stuff has been written off their books for years, and it is a management nightmare. They can't deal with it. They're going to take it back. Picture this. You're an apple farmer. You have the best crop you've had in years, and you got to get these into town. You guys can relate out here, right? Because this is a vegetable growing kind of a place, right? So you got the best crop you've ever had. You go, man, I'm going to get $1 an apple. This is going to be my best year ever. I'm going to build a new house and add on. We're going to take a vacation. I can pay all my workers. We're going to get more seedlings, more land, whatever the case may be. And then all of a sudden you get in there and everybody else has good apples. And you go, holy crap. I got to do something or my apples are going to go bad. So what do? You discount your apples. And what? Some of those apples are going to go bad. So you got to say, uh-oh, I can make apple juice, apple cider, apple sauce, apple preserves, apple pies. I can do other things with apples. But wait a minute. I'm an apple grower. I'm not prepared to make apple juice. So who I am? I make the juice. Give me your rotten apples, let me convert them, and turn them into apple juice. That's where we come in. That's how this whole thing works. That's why the banks, you say, well, why won't the banks take them back? Why don't they hold on to them? They're going to make a lot of money. They're losing a lot of money. No. Has anybody seen a bank crying lately? No. The banks were never that poor to begin with. Chase and Wells Fargo are neck and neck. You build a Chase, there's a Wells Fargo across the street. You build a Wells Fargo, there's a Chase right across the street. It's unbelievable. There's no gas stations anymore. It's all banks. I was going to do this as one of my examples. I have seen this all over the country. A Chase goes up and a Wells is right across the street, and they go up side by side. And I can actually take a picture because they're so close together, right? And it's amazing. So Chase is your president, Wells Fargo is your vice president, and the rest of them are just figureheads. Okay? So just figure that. Where do we get them? We buy from banks, hedge funds, and attorneys. Number one, banks. The reason we do that is because the banks actually sell it off. Now, this was the hardest relationship that I had to build. Right? It took me forever because I thought I was late to the game. And I was actually not late. I was just on time, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say or how to say it. I didn't know all the verbiage and everything else. I faked it till I made it. I really, honestly did. And I would just practice and practice and practice and practice. But I wasn't afraid because I had no other choice. They moved my cheese. I had to go find new cheese. So, hedge funds. Do you know the hedge funds lost money last year for the first time? Okay?
Hedge fund?
Hedge funds. Hedge funds lost money for the first time. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? You don't know. You should know. You're investors. Come on, people. You should know this stuff, Dan. The whip. Okay? If you're investors, guys, you got to know this stuff. Well, here's why. A hedge fund, if you don't know how it works, is you got to put a minimum of $250,000 as an investor. They gather millions of dollars, and then you hire one guy to control all your money. And they said, let's buy notes. You know why? Or not notes, REOs, defaulted homes. You know why? Because Warren Buffett said to do this. And so if Warren Buffett says it, you might as well do it, right? And so everybody went out and bought it. But nobody knew how to manage it. It sounds like great. It's like if somebody gave me a jet plane tomorrow, awesome. But I don't have a license and I don't know how to fly a jet.
There was a big if in his video statement on buying real estate. And it was if I could find proper management.
That's the word, manage. If you can't manage it, well, all of a sudden, well, you know, you're buying all this stuff dirt cheap and it makes a whole lot of sense and it's a great deal, but they forgot one thing. They forgot the end, how to fix it, how to manage it, how to board them up, how to sell them, how to rent them. It became a management nightmare. And of course, investors say, where's the return on my investment? Oh, it's going to come in 7 years. That's our plan. But they said, we need money now. So they start pressuring and pressuring and pressuring. So now what do they do? The hedge funds are selling off some of their portfolios. Rotten apples again. That's where I come in. Okay? I'm not a hedge fund, but I can take down some of this stuff. That's the cool thing. So the banks, the hedge funds, it's all coming back. So it's pretty exciting. I don't know why that keeps popping up. That's the weirdest thing.